Welcome to the video lecture series on organizational inclusiveness offered under the MS21 course Social Processes and Behavioral Issues. I'm your instructor in this video to educate you on the concepts of organizational inclusiveness. I'm Dr. Shalini Garg, Professor of HRM and OB, dealing with HR related inclusion and accessibility issues. I'm currently employed with Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University in the Department of Management. Now coming back to the unit, let me just apprise you that the video lectures would be divided into 3 half-an-hour videos each, covering the entire unit on organizational inclusiveness. Now, as we all know that with globalization, more companies acknowledge the concept of inclusivity as it is making our workplaces more diverse. So a unit before this that was centering around diversity management talked a lot about what was the relevance of an organization becoming diverse and how an organization can add value to the bottom line by opting diversity management. Now, inclusivity is an extension of diversity management and talks in detail about ways and measures of making the workplaces more welcoming to people from all walks of life, provided they are performance oriented. And globalization acted as a very, very important phenomena, not just for diversity to come to the various organizations, but also taking it further to the newer concept of inclusivity and accessibility. Studies explore that talent diversity is a key for business growth and development. Now, to maximize a profit within a global framework, organizations need to become more diversified, and it is a very well-known fact that the organizations are understanding that becoming more inclusive or accessible or diverse is a question of business sense. It adds on to the bottom line of the organization, brings value to the organization. Many companies feel pride among themselves for having diverse workforce group, as it provides you a wide array of skill base, and you can also see in this particular diagram or a graphical representation about the positive outcomes of workforce diversity. So before we understand the concept of inclusivity, let's also understand what is workforce diversity. So as we can see in this particular diagram, workforce diversity is surrounded by talents, experiences, broader viewpoints and ideas. So this makes the workforce diverse. Varied talents, varied experiences, different viewpoints and the ideas of the people makes the workforce diverse. So the positive outcome of workforce diversity is that it brings new thinking and ideas, talents, experiences, broader viewpoints in an organization. To maximize a profit within a global framework organization, it needs to become more diversified. Now, diversity. The concept of diversity embraces respect and acceptance of each individual's differences. I keep on telling my students in the management classes as well, that it is a known fact that we all are diverse, workforce is diverse and heterogeneous. But there is nothing great about knowing this fact. Greatness lies in understanding how these differences can be utilized in order to add value and make a difference to the organization. So the concept of diversity acknowledges each individual is unique and can have differences in dimensions of gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic and demographic status, physical abilities, religious beliefs and political ideas and or other ideologies. Diversity explores these differences in safe, positive and nurturing environment to understand and embrace their rich dimensions. Now, the unit on diversity management, which is Unit 7 under this particular course, MS21 course, talks a lot about diversity and the types of it. There, The classification of diversity was about surface diversity and deep level diversity. Here we are going to study another classification of diversity. One, workforce diversity, another behavioral diversity, and the third one being cognitive diversity. Now, the workforce diversity includes similarities and differences among people in terms of different cultural backgrounds, gender, race, ethnicity, age, religions, physical abilities and disabilities, sexual orientation, family status, economic background and status, and demographics. Now, behavioral diversity encompasses of work styles, thinking styles, learning styles, communication styles, aspirations, beliefs, value systems, changes in attitudes, and expectation of employees. Coming to the cognitive diversity focuses on diversity of thinking, our beliefs, the memory aspect, how the brain comprehends various kinds of stimuli that it encounters in the environment. And here we are talking about diversity. So it is represented by 4 dimensions, that is perspective, interpretations, heuristics, and predictive models. Cognitive diversity results in high performance while dealing with complex tasks. Now, after having talked about diversity, let's talk about how can we create an inclusive workplace and what are the reasons for which organizations are trying to become more inclusive. So at global level, business leaders are making great efforts to create policies for inclusive and accessible workplace with special reference to disabled people, LGBT and women. At global scale, inclusion allows for more effective talent management, attraction as well as retention of the talent, more effective alignment and team performance, and improved speed and efficiency across borders. Now, what is inclusion? Inclusion is an integral element of diversity as it works for the people who are slightly different. I'll rather say that people are unique, and that is why it works for the people, or it takes into account the uniqueness of the people as far as we talk about, or when we talk about inclusion. Embracing the culture of inclusiveness within an organization is a long-term process which includes changing attitudes of employees, practices and policies at workplace. We can understand it this way, that diversity is the awareness about differences or heterogeneity or pluralism amongst the workforce, whereas inclusion is a resultant or an outcome of adopting diversity-related approaches or mindset or philosophy. So inclusion is a result of our diversity measures. Now, creating an inclusive organization requires broadening mindsets, perspectives, and viewpoints of the work staff. It opens the door to new prospects of world views, which is more than hiring fresh talent. It is an ongoing process to make the work better we do, as well as the improving relationships we build with the different communities in organizational context. Now, what are the characteristics of an inclusive organization? Number 1, it accepts diversity and implements inclusion strategy. Now, in an inclusive organization, diversity is found at every level of hierarchy, whether bottom or middle or top level. People of different cultures, customs, traditions and beliefs, languages, rituals and lifestyles are accustomed in both the workforce as well as the customer segment and are respected without any bias and preconceived judgment. So as I said, developing a welcoming culture, respectful culture, tolerant work culture, plural work culture are all indicators of an inclusive organization. Now, the measurable next aspect of inclusive organization is measurable behavior and competencies. Employees working at inclusive organization have well-defined achievable goals roles and responsibilities. They have measurable behaviors and competencies which are not affected by individual personal bias and opinion. An inclusive organization is recognized by transparent policies and procedures. Inclusive organizational policies and procedures are transparent and equal for all. There's nothing hidden about it. Everybody knows about it. It is into the public domain. There are no hidden rules of behavior that may be apparent to some groups and unknown to others. The moment it happens, the purpose or the philosophy of the inclusive organization gets lost, gets dissolved. Now, consistency in practice of interactions with everyone. So, in an inclusive organization, there is no two set of rules or contradiction in their behaviors. Rules are fairly applicable throughout the institution, uniformly. No one group favoritism is done over another. So, no groupism, no favoritism. Uniform policies everywhere, whether HR policies or you talk about any strategies affecting people, they would be inclusive only if they are uniformly applicable. Learning culture. Career development program is encouraged by top level management and supported for all employees at all levels in an inclusive organization. Robust coaching and mentoring programs of both formal and informal systems that meet the individual learning needs of all employees are implemented in such an organization. Now, when we talk about the conflict resolution system at all levels, inclusive organization recognizes that conflict is inevitable because all the levels are manned by people. People have differing ideas, viewpoints, opinions, and the behavior is also unpredictable. So, there is a very least chance of the conflicts not taking place in an organization or differing opinions not resulting in an organization. Thus, they have well-defined conflict resolution system which addresses conflicts without biasness, maintaining confidentiality and respects for all parties in a non-confrontational manner. Also, active participants in community activities. Inclusive organization understands the fact that its employees, managers and customers all come from the community. They actively participate in community activities and play a significant role in addressing its needs. Also, let's talk about the vision, mission and the core values of an inclusive organization. People work for an organization because they believe in its vision, mission and goals. These organizations delivers what they promise and maintain trust and promise of its customers as well as the workforce. Next, value of earned privilege. In these organizations, employees are treated with respect and are recognized for their work accomplishments and good behavior. They are never biased for their socio-economic status or class. Change management. An inclusive organization recognizes that change is inevitable because unless and until if we internalize this important fact that change is inevitable, we won't be in a position to accept, tolerate and welcome different people with different ideologies because we won't be accepting change in that in such a circumstance. So in order to be more inclusive, it is important that we learn to adapt to the changes. So the change is inevitable in an inclusive organization. Thus, it constantly reviews its current and past practices and updates it to meet the changing demands and needs of the industry, workforce and customers. Now let us understand what are the benefits of an inclusive organization. And we have already read and heard that adopting inclusive practices is a business sense for an organization. In what way? Let's understand. Number one, higher job satisfaction. In an inclusive organization, workers are appreciated for their work and are treated with respect. Employees feel valued themselves and they are more satisfied for their job, obviously. Because if they are treated with respect, if they are accepted for their differences, they will be more engaged in the work and derive satisfaction. Lower turnover. So here we are referring to lower labor turnover. So people are treated as a valuable asset in an inclusive organization, and when employees are recognized and appreciated for their work, it creates belongingness in them for the organization, and they would like to stay on for a longer period of time, and thus increases the retention that reduces the labor turnover. Now, higher productivity. In an inclusive organization, people feel motivated and appreciated, which enhances their productivity and of the company. Higher employee morale. Inclusive organizations value their employees and their work, which creates happiness and job satisfaction among employees for their work. It boosts their morale and creates positive work environment in the organization. In an inclusive organization, there is improved creativity and innovation. So when people work together in a multicultural environment, it brings innovative and creative ideas because we are coming from diverse backgrounds and upbringings and culture. So when diverse ideas and thoughts come together, it brings creative solution or next breakthrough innovation. Inclusive organization is characterized by improved problem solving, the biggest benefit. When different minds work together in a diverse environment, then there are chances of improved problem solving as diverse experiences interact their creative ideas and provide better problem solutions. Further, increase organizational flexibility. An inclusive organization has flexible approach. It adjusts quickly to the changes that are occurring at global level because it is diverse and collaborative. As conditions change, the inclusive organization can change along with them. In an inclusive organization, there are better employees and more productive ones. Inclusive organization creates, attracts and retains the best employees. They constantly involve themselves into improving and solving problems of employees through encouragement of growth and improvement. People want to be employed at an inclusive organization because these organizations are high performing, values multicultural and diversity, maintains high morale of its employees. Thus, in order to become an employer of choice, it is important that you project and you inform the world that you practice inclusivity. So, these are some of the suggested readings on the topic of inclusivity. I would like to make a special mention of this book of mine, authored in 2019 and published by Emerald Publishing UK. It is a book titled as HR Initiatives in Building Inclusive and Accessible Workplaces and talks at length about the concepts of and models of inclusion and accessibility. These are some of the references taken from various web portals, from various journals that apprise you about the concept of inclusion. But please understand that while writing these units, the latest studies which are going on at the moment have not been covered. So please refer to the last 5 years of research papers and research developments in the field from today for updating your knowledge on the subject.